we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger, yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
Richmond Tigers, the roller coaster of the emotional. Richmond fans typify the famous quote, "Football isn't a matter of life and death. It's much more important than that." So seriously do Richmond fans take their football that the club is prone to extremes of popularity. In the good times, it ranks alongside Carlton, Collingwood and Essendon as one of Melbourne's Big Four. In bad times, Richmond fans desert the club as they are unable to cope with the stress of losing. Their popularity subsequently ranks alongside the likes of North Melbourne. Finals are overrated. Tiger fans are notoriously demanding. Arguably they are also the most incapable of coming to terms with losing. They are not like St Kilda fans who see losing as somewhat part of their identity, or Sydney fans who will be unfazed and find another form of entertainment, or Collingwood fans who will be disappointed but still struggle onwards. No, for Richmond fans, defeat is a cut that is almost too difficult to bear. To deal with the psychological turmoil, some fans take proactive action, such demanding the removal of the coach's head. In 1981, the need to placate fans led to the sacking of coach Tony Jewell. This was quite a hasty move considering that he had coached the club to a premiership the year before. The club did the same with Francis Burke in 1983 after he coached them to a grand final in the previous year. In 2001, another proactive fan tried to remedy Richmond's poor start to the season by dumping a load of chicken manure on the club's doorstep. Countless others tore up their memberships and posted them back to the club as their way of motivating their beloved Tigers. Of those who can't take such affirmative action, alternative strategies are used to deal with their frustration. To their credit, this rarely involves changing allegiances or going to watch a successful VFA team at Port Adelaide supporters. No, Richmond fans often stop watching football altogether. When quizzed, they don't deny that they were once Richmond fans, nor do they deny that Richmond meant to the world to them. They simply say things like they have lost interest in football due to the AFL administration making it a farce. Of course, this is somewhat of a lie. In reality, the Tiger fans are gazing upon the AFL from the fringes, keeping one eye on the results whilst pretending not to care. Then once the Tigers start winning again, they pounce back into the fray, cheering like the fans of old. This tendency to disappear only to roar back into life often has the club being labelled the sleeping giant of the AFL. The seeds of Richmond's culture were sown in 1921 when the club changed its name from the Yellow and Black Angels to the Tigers. The ferocity of its new moniker inspired the catch cry "Eat 'em alive." It was a brutal cry that compelled players to make no apologies for their methods and let nothing stand in the way of victory. Captain Blood. In the 1930s, a player by the name of Jack Dyer turned the brutal mentality into an art form. Dyer used a lethal shirt front to break the collarbones of 64 opponents. With a procession of broken players laying in his wake, Dyer was bestowed the title Captain Blood. On the back of his ferocity, the Tigers won flags in 1932, 1934 and 1943. From the 1960s to early 80s, the club again built a platform for success on the back of big, tough, uncompromising players who, like Dyer, let nothing stand in their way. In the era, they won flags in 1967, 1969th, 1973rd, 1974th, 1980. However, in the 80s, the take-no-prisoners approach that had delivered success in the past contributed to the club's demise. In the 21 years from 1962 to 1982, Richmond won 66% of its games. In the 21 years from 1983 to 2003, it won just 39%. Fans were accustomed to winning and were intolerant of failure. Those who did not deliver had always been discarded and replaced with those who were more keeping with the Tiger ethic. In 1982, David Cloke, Jeff Rains and Brian Wood all left the club. In the same year, interstate player draft was introduced, thus making players more difficult to replace. Failing to adapt, the Tigers remained merciless to players they felt were underperforming. As a result, a great deal of talent was lost to rival clubs, merely compounding the problem. As results got progressively worse, a culture built upon tearing apart the opposition began tearing apart itself. Disenchanted icons left the club, and without the benefit of their experience, the young recruits had no one to educate them about the Tigers' intimidating culture. Performances went into freefall, and fans unable to cope with losing left as well. With such demanding fans, the board has lacked the patience to spend time at the bottom of the ladder to gain access to the prize draft selections. Furthermore, when the prize draft selections were attained, they were subsequently traded away on established players in the hope of attaining quick results. As for the draft selections held onto, the pressure of dealing with insane fans who wanted unrealistic results caused their football to suffer. The emotion of Richmond fans is a mixed blessing for the club. When the players are down, the fans are extremely hostile, even to the point of spitting at their own players. But unlike Collingwood fans who are scathing of their players' ability, Richmond fans are scathing of their players' effort. They are usually quite optimistic about the players' potential. When the players do start performing, this optimism shines through and the players are elevated to an almost godlike status. Perhaps this explains why Richmond has arguably more historical champions than any other club. Maybe Richmond has produced more champions, or maybe Richmond is just better at singing their praises. Yerkes Dodson Law. In psychological terms, Richmond's performance is best explained with the Yerkes Dodson Law, which dictates that performance increases with arousal, but only up to a point. When levels of arousal become too high, performance decreases. In other words, when players put pressure on themselves, their performances increase, but when the pressure becomes extreme due to Richmond fans' insanity, they go to shit. Occasionally, however, the pressure of the fans can work in their favor, as it did in 2017. The Richmond list of the year was widely regarded as average, yet it went on to win the premiership on the back of a high-pressure game style. In short, low-skilled players attacked the game as if their testicles were being electrocuted. Eventually, they calmed down and found that sweet spot that carried them to a prize that seemed impossible over 3 decades of failure. Roy Morgan Research. Richmond Tigers supporters are 2001, compared to the average Australian, 46% more likely than the average person to win the 25-34 age bracket, 26% more likely to be in the highest AB socioeconomic group, 58% more likely to have a professional occupation, 11% more likely to own a mobile phone, 96% more likely to place a bet at the TAB than the average Australian. 2004, compared to other AFL supporters. 35% more likely to be aged 35-49, 32% more likely to be managers, 55% more likely to have gone to the ballet or opera, 47% more likely to have gone to a zoo, wildlife park, sanctuary, 32% more likely to play video games at home, 52% more likely to go to a jazz, classical or blues performance. 2006, when compared to other AFL supporters. 39% more likely to be aged 35-49, 36% more likely to be a clerk or typist, 21% more likely to think imported beer is a waste of money. Richmond Tigers theme song. Oh, we're from Tigerland, a fighting fury, we're from Tigerland, in any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and shin, if we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win. For we're from Tigerland, we'll never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the Tigers of old, we're strong and we're bold. For we're from Tiger yellow and black, for we're from Tigerland. Odd that Richmond never realized that Tigers are in fact orange and black. Slightly more honest version of the Tiger song. Rivalries. Collingwood. Richmond fans have often depicted Collingwood as representing the worst stereotypes of the working class. Profane, unruly, aggressive and obnoxious. On the other hand, Richmond has depicted themselves as representing the best aspects on the class. Passionate and tough. Personifying the difference was a TV show hosted by ex-Richmond captain Jack Dyer, and ex-Collingwood captain, Lou Richards. There was Dyer, a magnificent physical specimen whose mere presence commanded velour, strength and dignity. Besides him was Richards, a sly little weasel who would rob his own mother if given half a chance. In recent years the rivalry has waned as there have been no Jack Dyers in Richmond's teams and they are now about as intimidating as Bambi. As for Collingwood, it has become respectable now that Eddie MC Geyer has given the fans elocution lessons. The only consolation is Eddie has been unable to rid the club of its collywobbles, and for many old Tiger fans, the next best thing to Richmond winning a flag is seeing the Magpies lose one. Richmond jokes when a family of Collingwood supporters head out one Saturday morning to do their Christmas shoplifting. While in Rebel Sports the son picks up a Richmond footy jumper and says to his 10-year-old sister, "I've decided to become a Tiger supporter and I would like this for Christmas." His sister, outraged by this, promptly whacks him round the head with her carton of Winfields and says, "Go talk to Mum." Off goes the little lad with the Richmond footy jumper in hand and finds his mother. "Mum?" "Yes, son? I've decided I'm going to be a Tiger supporter and I would like this jumper for Christmas." The mother is outraged at this and throws her moccasins and a full stubby of VB at him, promptly whacks him around the head and says, "Let's go talk to your father." Off they go to Pentridge during visiting hours with footy jumper in hand and find Bubba, his father. "Dad?" "Yes, son? I've decided I'm going to be a Richmond supporter and I would like this jumper for Christmas." The father is outraged and promptly whacks his son around the head with his fists and says, "No son of mine is ever going to be seen in that," and then kicks him from one end of the rec room to the other for further good measure. About half an hour later they're all back in the car and heading towards Home Reservoir. The mother turns to her son and says, "Son, I hope you've learned something today?" The son says, "Yes knackers I have." "Good son, what is it?" The son replies, "I've only been a Richmond supporter for an hour and already I hate you Collingwood bastards." A Richmond supporter arrived at the MCG and asked for a ticket. Since he hadn't been for a while, he needed to inquire about the prices. "How much to get in?" he asked. $16, said the ticket seller. "Well, here is 8, I only watch one side." Icons Jack Dyer, tough and well-mannered. Nicknamed Captain Blood after breaking the collarbones of 64 opponents. Royce Hart, big, tough centre-half forward with such courage that he expected to be concussed 6 or 7 times a year. Kevin Sheedy, no-frills backman renowned for dirty play and tough work ethic. Was a plumber by trade. Mick Mathouse, another backman who along with Sheedy, was said to have made a fine pair of gutter rats. Kevin Bartlett, a strange son who played in 5 premierships. After being removed as coach, chucked a hissifit and vowed never to return. Known as Hungry because of his unwillingness to handball. Jack Titus, at a height of 175 centimeters and weighing in at just 65.5 kilograms, Titus was no Titan god. Yet he was extremely nimble in both mind and body and went on to become the Tigers' full forward of the century. Michael Roach, big, high-flying full forward. Matthew Richardson, big, strong marking forward. Known to turn on own teammates. Would kick goals from outside the 50, only to miss set shots from 15 meters. Truly the highs and lows rolled into one. Tom Hafey, as coach, was famous for his hatred of players finishing with ball. His mantra was kick long. If only Friley had been inducted in the Hafey culture, he wouldn't have spent 5 years cultivating Richmond to be the shortest kicking team in the league.
Away from Tigerland, a fighting fury, we're from